Okay, hi guys, I'm going to make a start now. We're looking at Unit 1, which is all about research and academic writing. There are a number of areas about this that we need to clarify before you go on to further questions where you'll be asked to do some research and write in an academic fashion. So I'm going to look at Unit 1. And we're going to look at learning objective 1 first. There are 3 assessment criteria to this, and that is to distinguish the different sources of information used in academic writing, evaluate the benefits of using different resources, okay, it was on. Yeah. And also explain how to formulate research aims, objectives, and questions. One of the most difficult parts of any research is deciding what you're going to research. You need to find an instance of where there is a problem, and then how you're going to get around that problem. Look for solutions to that problem. To do that, you will have to determine what the problem is, and then you'll have to read a lot of material that's already been produced around that subject to find out what's already been said and what's already been found out. And then from there, you can then formulate your own question as to how you get around the specific problem. So again, once you've done that literature review, you then will look at presenting the output of the literature review. In other words, saying what you've said and what other people have said about the subject and what you're going to do about it. You then look at evaluating the different methods of collecting and analysing the data that's produced or you've read. This will be a reflective view of what you think of the previous work that's been done on the question, and look at the way you're going to collect your evidence. Now, evidence can be collected in 2 ways. There's primary sources, which you will find out yourself, and this is where you've actually read some material and then gone into it further yourself. And there is secondary sources, which are sources from other people who have done research on a similar subject, or the same subject, in fact. So you look at the different methods of collecting data and then use those different methods to collect and analyze the data that you will need to formulate your answer to the question. Explain the importance of avoiding plagiarism and academic misconduct. This is where we have given information about using Harvard referencing systems. There's nothing wrong with using quotes from previous researchers or people that's covered the subject before, provided that you then paraphrase what's been said. Or what I tend to do is ask you to make notes on what you are reading and then write you a piece from your notes. That way you will avoid plagiarizing, and you will always refer where you've got the information from. Provided you do that, then there should be no problem. So that's explaining the importance of avoiding plagiarism. Again, produce a piece of academic writing applying Harvard referencing system. Use study plans to achieve research and academic writing objectives. Use independent learning techniques. Now, a lot of that is done via, using other sources besides the ones that have been indicated. If it comes down to here, task 1 is a literary review, using different sources of information, journal articles, books, newspapers, or websites. Review the literature around the topic of your choice. In other words, you've got to choose a topic that you want to find more information about. The second part of that is when you are reviewing the literature, ensure that you do proper citation. In other words, use the Harvard referencing system to avoid any plagiarism. You should also have a reference list at the end of your literature review. In other words, basically what you've looked at, what you've said. Oops, losing my earphones. And how you're actually going to go about that, and that to be produced in a Word document. So that is your first assignment. What I'm going to do today is go through a PowerPoint to look at what research is all about and why we do research. And it can be a load of different things. The presentation that I'm going to produce is really covering marketing. Marketing is an area where a lot of research goes in, and it's very important, as we'll see as I go through the PowerPoint presentation. Start. Research and academic writing. Understand the different sources of information and research formulation. So we've got an overview and a definition of marketing research, a classification of marketing research, the process itself, what the nature of the research is for, marketing research suppliers and services. If you're going to use, obviously, if you're a company and you're going to use other suppliers and research services, you've got to be happy with their service, whatever they provide for you is going to be done properly. So obviously you've got to do some research into the suppliers themselves. And then selecting a research supplier, and then something about careers in marketing research. Let's come back. Some of the research for this PowerPoint has been done through the American Marketing Association because they have a lot of information with regard to marketing research. It's a function which links the consumer or the customer and the public in general to the marketer through information. So I think we can see from what I've said up to now that it is an information gathering process. One of the things, oops, now we are. It all boils down to it's used to identify and divide marketing opportunities and problems, to refine and evaluate marketing performance, to monitor marketing performance, and improve understanding of marketing as a process. So there are a number of opportunities there to identify a problem and work at how you actually get around that problem by producing a research project that will cover what you need to do. So research is a systematic and objective identification, collection of information, an analysis of that information, and the dissemination of that information and putting it into use. So research questions start off with an issue that needs to be solved. That's your identification. You then collect lots and lots of information about that and data on the subject from previous researchers, magazines, websites. You then analyze that information and disseminate it and use the information to improve decision making on anything that's related to the identification and solution of problems and opportunities in marketing. So it specifies the information necessary to address the issues, manages and implements the data collection process, analyzes the results, and communicates the findings and their implications. Because quite often, if you solve a problem, it can bring other issues in which you do to look at as implications. So research is undertaken to help identify problems which are not necessarily apparent on the surface. I can give you an example of that. It's looking at market potential, market share, image, market characteristics, sales analysis, forecasting and trends research. But a simpler example, one of the problems that cropped up recently was internet buying and how you market things on the internet. And some people will go into a site and they'll hover over different things, but then not buy. What the research was to try and identify what stopped them from making a buy at that point. What was it that put them off? So there are a whole range of things. It could be not very good with the internet themselves. It could be frightened of leaving their data behind. There were a whole host of things that came out of that. So that's identifying a problem. Yeah. Oops, back. So any research undertaken is to help solve a specific marketing problem. The problem that you bring up doesn't need to be marketing. It can be another area that you've got an interest in, that you can look at and say, well, this is what we need to look at, and this is what we need to basically talk about. So your marketing research, identifying the problem and the research needed. So there's problem solving and research. Marketing potential research, marketing share research, marketing characteristics research. That was the example I gave you. That was one of the characteristics. Somebody that was going online with the intention of buying, but then not actually doing it. There must be a reason for that, and the analysis or the research was to find out why that was happening. Segmentation research. For those of you not very well versed in marketing, segmentation is when you look at different segments of the market. If you are selling an item, for instance, or a service, is it to children? Is it to teenagers, young adults? Is it to families? Is it to older people? So those are segments of the market. Yeah. Is everybody happy with that up to now?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. I'll continue. Segmentation research, determine the basis of segmentation, establish market potential, select target markets, create lifestyles, profiles, demographic, media, and product image characteristics. Product image is, again, an area of research on its own. Again, I can give you some examples. It's quite a few years ago now, but there was a television program. It was a drama, and they used a lot of vehicles in the series. And Ford made sure that it was a sort of a police or security series. They made sure that the good guys always drove Fords, and that was targeting the product image and its characteristics. Yeah. So your product research is to test the concept of what you're going to produce, either a service or an item, whether it works or not. Determine the design, put a package together and test it. Any modifications that come out from those tests, again, positioning the brand and repositioning it to make sure that I could just example with Ford, to make sure that it looks good in people's eyes. Test marketing, putting it out to find out what people actually think of it. And then have score tests to find out who did what, which section or sector of the market was found it the best. Problem-solving research. You must have a budget for your research, yeah? A sales promotion relationship, promotional mix, how you're actually going to promote it, whether it's just advertising, whether it's going to be TV, all the different methods and media that are used in there. If it's prices, what the pricing policy is. You may have seen, as an example, you'll go into a shop and they sell a range of furniture. All of a sudden they'll have a sale and they'll be selling a lot of the stuff off at what seems like half price. The pricing policy will determine what the initial figure is that they put in, but that will have a huge margin on it. And if it sells at that price, fine, great. If it doesn't, it gives them the option of bringing that price or product line pricing, yeah. And there's also the elasticity of demand. It's not much point in selling winter clothes in the summer, yeah. So there'll not be a demand for it. It will shrink in the summer. But for summer clothes, obviously, then you actually have a big demand. So what you're actually selling is matching what's needed by the buying public. So, and then initiating and responding to price changes. Again, distribution research, types of distribution, how you're going to get your articles to market. The attitudes of channel members, people who are within the channel of getting that sale from wholesale through to resale or to retail, and then what those margins are as far as price is concerned, and then the location, where you're going to sell it from. So the marketing research process is in different stages. We could look at determining or defining what the problem is, developing an approach to that problem, research design, how you're actually going to do that. This is like if you are gathering information, how are you going to do it? Are you going to provide a questionnaire? Are you going to do something online? Are you going to interview managers and staff? All this is gathering this information, and the research design is how you're actually going to collect that data. Yeah, and then actually step 4 is actually doing it. You then prepare all the data and it's analysed. So it's looked at what did we think beforehand, what was the problem, and was our approach correct? Did we, from the analysis, have we got a result? So we then need to prepare a report and present it. So in a nutshell, that is the research process. Yeah, 6 stages: problem definition, developing your approach. You develop your approach by reading different materials that's been done in the same area previously. So you look at the work that's been done previously and look at where you can improve on that. And that's why the research design or the formulating of how you're going to gather your data is important. The actual fieldwork and data collection is, if you are doing a research project, then obviously you define your problem and an approach to the problem. You then need to get that agreed, that somebody says, yes, that is a problem. It will formulate a research operation, and the approach you're going to do it to that problem is to use previous data and then look at that and analyse it and determine how you are going to improve on that and design the formulation. The collection of the data and the actual production of it will be part of your answer. So you then prepare the data and analyse it, and then report and present it to whoever you need to present it to. If you are doing a research project yourself, then obviously you would have to produce it. You would have to present that to your tutor. Let me pull this up. The role of marketing research, how it fits in. So there are a whole host of people of information that you put into the research about your product, how it's priced, its promotion, its distribution. The economy, these are uncontrollable environmental factors. The economy of the country you're working in, or countries that you're working in, the technology used, laws and regulations are also a large influence. Social and cultural factors also provide quite a lot of issues. And political factors always produce issues. So marketing managers look at the market segmentation, the target selection, the marketing programs, and the performance of control. So that's providing information, comes back to decision making after the research and assessing the information needs. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, yeah. So you're researching internal and external suppliers, syndicated services, standardized services, customized services, and internet services. Those are what you provide internally. Yeah. Again, external is limited. Yeah. So your coding and data entry service might be provided in-house nowadays, but a few years ago it would probably been brought in by somebody who would do that for you. Branded products and services and data analysis services, those could be external, or suppliers of research would be external. To cover that, there are a couple of slides on here that shows the top 50 US marketing firms, and to give you some idea of how much they've involved. I mean, BNU, headquarters in New York, they've got a website. The world resolution in millions, 2,400 million they make a year in services they provide. So that shows how much the value of research itself. I think there's one in there, yeah. Taylor Nelson is based in UK actually, and it's number 10 on the list, and that's making quite a few. 166.9 million a year they make out of their marketing research. The next one is just an extension of that. I'm not going to go into that one again, but again, some of the jobs involved in research are quite extensive. Maybe not as wide as this in UK, but very similar. So you will have somebody like a vice president. He'll be a board member. It's a senior position, and he will be responsible for the entire marketing research operation of the company, and serves on the top management team. He may be even on the board. He sets the objectives and the goals for the marketing research department. The director has also a senior position. He's a general responsibility for the development of marketing research projects. Oops, jumped. Assistant director serves as an administrative assistant to the director and supervises some of the other marketing research staff members. Project manager has overall responsibility for design, implementation, and management of research projects. And the statistician, he will cover all the data collection and how it's processed. Nowadays, that's somebody with a good grip on IT processes. Just to highlight those, it's again VP, part of the company's top management team, Again, also senior management, development and execution of projects. Administrative assistant, supervises staff members, responsible for the design, implementation and research projects together. We've got a senior analyst who participates in the development of projects, but also carries out the execution of them and coordinates the efforts of the analysts, junior analysts and other personnel in the development of research design and data collection, and prepares the final report. Statistician serves as an expert on theory and application of statistic techniques. Again, nowadays that will be very IT savvy person who learns all about processing in different ways. And the analyst who handles the details of execution of projects, and he designs and presents questionnaires and conducts preliminary analysis of data. That is the person that actually goes out on the road and collects that information and gets that data together. It's not, sometimes research is not sitting behind a computer and getting information and data together. It means actually getting out there on the road and finding out that information. That is primary data, yeah? Oops. Looks at secondary data analysis, edits codes and questionnaires, conducts preliminary analysis of data. The fieldwork director handles the selection, training and supervision and evaluation of people who are going to do the interview and do the fieldwork. There. Internal suppliers and external suppliers. Full service suppliers who do everything. Syndicated services, standardized services, customized services and internet services. Limited service suppliers who just do specific things like coding and data entry. Analysis of the data and branded marketing research products. Those are specific services that some external suppliers provide. Again, a lot of the larger organisations will have an in-house service for nearly every one of these, where they will do everything in-house. So it's looking at selecting a research supplier. If you've got to get somebody in to do that, what is their reputation? Do they complete on schedule? Are they known for ethical standards? Are they flexible? Are their research projects of high quality? What kind and how much experience does the supplier have? Has the firm had experience with projects similar to this one? Or do suppliers' personnel have both the technical and non-technical expertise, and can they communicate well with the client? Well, cover to that. Research jobs or sample of marketing research jobs. So you've got the customer research analyst, the marketing research manager, different operations within the system. There are opportunities for employment. So to take a preparation or for a marketing career, you would have to take all the marketing courses you can, take courses in statistics and quantitative methods. There's two, there are quantitative and qualitative. Quantitative is lots and lots of data to produce the effect. The other is specific data of high quality to actually produce the way you want it. So there are different methods of collecting those statistics. Acquire good internet, computer skills, take courses in psychology. Why would you say, why do you think they would need psychology? Anybody?
Sorry, sir, could you repeat your question?
It says here, if you want to be a marketer, take courses in psychology. Why would you think you needed to apply psychology?
Well, because it lets us know about the human behavior, the kind of thinking they have, and so it helps us in coming up with those actions that are actually kind of thought about by those consumers or people who are looking forward to buy our products.
Exactly. That's what I mentioned before when there was some research into why people on the internet don't actually buy. They'll hover over it and then decide not to buy online. There are reasons for that, and again, usually they're psychological ones. Yeah, that's a good response, yeah. Be effective in written and verbal communication skills. That's important for just about everything you need to do, to be honest, today. Think creatively. Yeah, creativity and common sense command the premium in marketing research. Common sense is basically having the knowledge to be able to make decisions that make sense. Yeah. Just a second. So there are structured problems that you can find out where you can use reports, rigid structure. Can you? You can use reports from other people. They will have a rigid structure. Excuse me. Any restricted information, it can improve decision making by clarifying the data. Unstructured problems, you can use models, user-friendly interaction. Any of that can our adaptability can improve decision making using a what-if analysis. That's part of developing your question. If there's an issue, you know, we can look at it, but then at the end it said you may have to modify things if you come up with a solution. There might be a what-if analysis at the end of it. We're not doing that as project. Research associations online, so it looks at the different ones. There's the European Society for Opinion and Marketing Research, the Marketing Research Society, UK, the Marketing Research Society of Australia, and the Professional Marketing Research Society, Canada. There are also new ones that have come up in recent years where people are doing what they call direct marketing via the internet. So that's the another body which has now been formed to look at internet marketing. Thank you. I'm just going to go quickly back now to on here. Yeah. So we'll look at learning outcome 1. So distinguish different sources of information used in academic writing. Evaluate the benefits of using different sources of information when compiling academic writing, and explain how to formulate research aims and objectives and questions. So you've now got an indicated, you've got a reading list on the bottom of there. And I want to pick up that other one as well, which I just had up before Uni 1. Oh, not come up. Just a second. There we are. So, for your task 1 for this assignment, there is no specific scenario. Instead, you're going to be required to write a literature review and a research proposal for a topic of your choice. So that means you need to look at something where you can it's something you have an interest in that you can look at and say, okay, I'm going to do some research on that particular issue. So again, you will then, what is a literature review? So using different sources of information, journal articles, books, newspapers, or a website, review the literature around the topic you've chosen. Yeah. When you review the literature, ensure that you do proper citation, that is recording where you've got the information from. Yeah. And the referencing to avoid plagiarism using Harvard referencing system. I'll just put that a minute. Yeah. I'll just run through that with you now. On the next part of this is for books, you need to record the author or the editor's name or names, the year the book was published, the title of the book. If it's an edition other than a first, then the city the book was published in, and the name of the publisher. Yeah?
Yeah.
For journal articles, record, again, the author's name or names, the year the journal was published, the title of the article, the title of the journal, any page numbers of the article in the journal. As much other information as you can find, really, about the journal. For example, how many were issued? Was it a large number or just a small, discrete number? For electronic or websites, try to collect information on the left if it's available, but also record the date you access the source, the electronic address or email, and the type of resource, whether it's email, a discussion, a forum, or a web page. Again, what to reference? Whenever you use somebody else's idea or words, you must put in a reference. They can be direct quotations or paraphrasing, and this is the difference between paraphrasing and direct quote. Direct quotes will use exactly the same word in exactly the same word in exactly the same format. Paraphrasing, you use your own words to explain the writer's point of view. Direct quotes are then put in inverted commas, quote with exact words, right? Inverted commas are not used in paraphrasing. This is why I said, whatever you access any information that you're going to use, sometimes the best way of doing that is to make some notes of what you read on your own. Yeah, make your own notes and then write what you want to say off those notes. Yeah, that way you will make sure that what you've written is yours and not someone else's. So what doesn't need a reference? Almost everything that you use needs to be referenced. The only exception is when the information you have read somewhere is common knowledge or is in the public domain. Yeah, in other words, you can find it on the internet and use information that's been put there by a secondary person. You would not need to include a reference if you stated in an assignment that Shakespeare wrote plays and sonnets, because everybody knows that. Summary of the writer's ideas in newer words. You can write, Phillips, 1999, suggests that generalization change is inevitable and continuous. So you've mentioned that something that you are paraphrasing what he says, yeah? But if you're using exact words or direct quotes of the writer, it says, when organising our time, ATHE 1988-51 states that the centrepiece will tend to be goals or objectives. There you are using, or when organising our time, the centrepiece will tend to be goals and objectives. ATHE 1988-51. So you can put, but as long as you put that in, usually I tend to put it in at the beginning, but some people can put it in after the quote. It doesn't really matter so long as it's there. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A direct quote with two authors, McCarthy and Hatcher, insist that with presentations, structure must be clear and precise, or with presentations, again, it's just moving it from the beginning to the end. Doesn't really matter, but those are for direct quotes using two authors. Yeah, both the names are in. With three authors, you've got Fisher, Urey, and Patton. Suggest when, whatever, yeah. Some thoughts are best left unsaid, and then you put that in at the end. It doesn't really matter, again, which way it goes. Sometimes you'll see on a reference, it'll say Fisher, Urey, Patton, et al. It means there are quite a lot more who have actually mentioned this as well, and by putting that et al in, you've just mentioned them, if you like, because it's about a widely covered subject. There you are. Morris et al. 2047 states the debatable of these particular issues should be left to the representative committees. So that's a direct quote again, but you've put in exactly who said it. So it's Morris and a bunch of other people as well. Yeah. By putting that last bit in, it makes the difference. There was a slight difference between creating a referencing list and a bibliography. It will say on most of the qualifications that you are working towards, it will say references need to be there. A bibliography is usually asked for if you're doing a dissertation for your degree or something of that nature, where it will ask for a bibliography, and that is everything that you have written, everything that you have read when writing your piece needs to be added, whether you've used it or not. Yeah, if you've used it in the process, then obviously it's a reference. But if you've something you've read but not actually used the information, then it still needs to be there. But it will, a tutor will state in there that he needs a full bibliography. Again, they should be listed alphabetically by author's surname. Should be left justified. References should never be preceded by a bullet or a number. They should also just be stated as we've said in the previous slides. All sources listed together. There shouldn't be separate lists of books, journals or articles or electronic sources. It should be all together. The reference list should be on a separate page from the rest of the assignment and should be simply titled References. Now, for general use on the qualifications you are doing, if you've not got a huge reference list, let's say the last page of your assignment has only got a couple of one paragraph on the page, there's nothing to do going down a couple, writing references in and then listing your references on there. They don't necessarily electronically to be on a different page, because they're clearly marked as references list or your list of references. Oh, this is mentioned. I've already mentioned this. The bibliography, when you use the Harvard system, you are usually only required to produce a reference list. Some lecturer tutors may want to produce a bibliography instead. in the bibliography, you will see all the sources you've consulted, regardless of whether you've cited them or used them in the actual piece. That is basically just what I said to you before. The format is the author's last name, the initial, the year or book name, subtitle of the book, the place where it's published, and the publisher. Right. Examples of referencing and bibliography. A Day J 1988, effective time management, how to save time and spend it wisely, London, Pan Books. McCarthy and Hutcher, 1996, speaking persuasively, making the most of your presentation. Sydney, Allen and Unwin, those are the publishers on there. 3 or more authors, again, Fisher, Urey, Patton, getting to yes, negotiating an agreement without giving in. 2nd edition, London, Century Business. So those are good examples for you to see on how to actually put those down. Again, this is just where it's a later edition, 1995 originally, but this is the 2nd edition, so you put it in, it's 2nd edition. Same author, same year, A and B. Yeah. 2 different things, but they are different subjects, but or separate books, I should say. Everything else is the same, so you just put A and B. Oops. If it's something that's been edited, yeah, it will say ED, editor, yeah. Again, be up to the title and then where it's been actually produced. If you reference a journal, you can put in what it is and the actual pages that you've actually used. So that's referencing a journal. You need to put, as well as the information you've previously put in, you'll need to put in the actual page numbers you've gone from. I'm going to give you one more paper that you can take home for doing the test. Oops. And then you bring that back on.
Sir, I have a confusion.
Sorry?
Yes, sir, I have a confusion in learning outcome 1.3 where it states in the assignment brief that explain how to formulate research aims, objectives and questions. Could you kind of explain what is to be done when preparing the assignment for this task?
Right, let's go back to that. Put this one down.
Although this is the task number 2, but the learning outcome is 1.3.
Yeah.
So kind of confused what to put in this thing.
Again, 1.3 is asking you to explain how to formulate research aims, objectives and questions. The first thing you need to do is determine what your question is going to be. Determine the problem and how you're going to get around it. And that explains then how you're going to formulate the research. So what is the aim of the research? Are you going to solve the problem, or are you just going to provide further information as to how it can, or a better circumstance can be achieved? So what your objectives and questions are going to be. It's literally how you're going to formulate, say, a questionnaire, yeah? So if you were going to find out the information, or you determine what information you want to find out, how would you actually formulate then the questions, yeah, that were going to give you the answers that you needed? Does that explain it?
So it has to be specifically about this marketing area, like we studied.
No, I was using that purely as an example. If it's marketing you're into, or that's something you're interested in, and there is a research question you can develop around that, fine, yeah. But it can be about any subject. It could be, I can't think of another. Yeah, there could be an issue in your country with education, problems in the way education is delivered. And if that's an area where you're interested in, then by all means use that to determine a problem that you've seen, and then how you will get the information together to produce the result you want. So again, it's said there are no specific criteria. Sorry, there are criteria. There are no specifics to the task. You need to decide on a subject yourself, and then go through those processes with that subject. Yeah. Again, it's 1.2 is evaluate the benefits of using different sources of information when compiling it. So, what sort of information are you going to produce? Is it going to be purely read from books? Are you going to use websites? Are you going to use data online? Anything of that nature. So, evaluate the benefits of using those different.
So the sources of information could be just one single item, or there could be multiples.
It could be multiples. It depends on what you decide on the specific problem that you want to solve with your research. Yeah. Once you've determined that, it then may be that there is only one type of sources of information that you will need to use, and that's why it's asking you to evaluate it. You can say, benefits of using. You can say, well, in this instance, I'm only going to use a single method of information because I don't need to do that, because there will be no extra benefit from it. I can get all the information I need from using this source. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to I've gone back off the other one now. So going back to task 1, if you follow the task, yeah, rather than that's just giving you an outline of what you've got to do. The learning objective asks you to understand the use of different sources of information and research formulation. That's the overall learning objective. The assessment criteria to distinguish different sources, evaluate the benefits of using different sources, and explain how to formulate a research aim and the objectives and questions. So, using different sources of information, example, journals, books, newspapers, or website, review the literature around the topic of your choice. So there will be, usually, if you can see there's a problem, other people will have seen that in that specific area that you're interested in, and there will be plenty of information available to you. And again, you need to do research on that yourself to find out which literature is going to be suitable to give secondary data for the research that you're going to do. Again, when reviewing the literature, put your citations in. Yeah? So basically, you're producing a Word document that will cover those subjects around the topic of your choice. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Any questions? Any questions?
Do you think you could give a few more examples? Of...
What I'll do is I'll pull back again. Right. I thought I've got some more stuff on here. What I'll do is if you make a start now, like I did with the other one, make a start on the unit, and any issues you come up with, hang on, I'm not sure what to do here now. Email me direct, yeah, and I'll respond to each of you individually then. Because you'll probably all have, once you make a start and you've decided on a subject, A, you may want to ask me about the subject, if that's okay, or whatever. And B, you will all have different probably questions with regard to what you need to do next. So probably the best after the presentation now is to make a start on the actual, what's it called?
Assignment.
Yeah, yeah. Make a start on the assignment. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the, oh, wrong. I picked the wrong one again. Sec. Make a start on this task one. Yeah. Now, have a look at what it will cover. If you go back to the sheet afterwards, it will cover 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. It won't cover 1, 3, sorry. It will cover 1, 1 and 1, 2. It will cover 2, 1 and 2, 2 and 2, 3. And it will cover 4, 1 and 4, 2. Yeah? 1, 3 is actually your research proposal presentation. Yeah? So the presentation will include an explanation of your subject data, aims and objectives and questions. So that's part of 2. Initially, what you're doing is looking at different sources of information and review the literature around the topic of your choice. Yeah? So you're going to do basically a literature review to say, this is my subject, this is what I'm trying to solve, these are the, or this is the literature that has already been written about this subject, and why you're actually going to do that. And so you're going to review the literature. And then when you review the literature, always use the Harvard referencing system to show where you've got that information from. Yeah?
Yeah, okay, got it.
And have a reference list at the end of your literature review. As I said, you're all going to have different questions once you've made a start on this. But I'm at the end of the email, so if you just email me, I'll respond to you then individually. Yeah. Is everybody okay with that?
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay. Everybody else? Can anybody? I'm not hearing anything else from anybody else. Are you all there?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, that's fine. Good, good. Right-o then, thank you all for attending today. I thank you all for attendance, and I will speak to you again on the next, I've not got the schedule in front of me, but obviously when you pick up the next schedule, I will discuss further. Okay?
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.